Hello everybody and welcome to another commented War Thunder video of mine. And today I'm flying the A6M2 Zero for the Japanese forces fighting on the Khalkhin Ghol map against the Russians. And at the time of this video my aircraft was mostly stock, so it wasn't in best shape, but I still managed to have a fairly good game in it nonetheless. So right after takeoff I did what everybody should really do, and that is get some altitude. And flying over our front line I actually watched around and saw some Teamplay rising from our friendly ground targets. So I was fairly sure that that aircraft I'm spotting here is an enemy. So I'm pushing my nose down to get some speed up, but of course I'm in a zero and it's not even properly grounded out, so I'm not going to be all that fast, and it's going to take me a while to catch up with this guy. And surely you guys are probably thinking, okay, that's going to be his first kill, right? Well, let's say wait and see. I bet you didn't see that one coming, right? Teamplay in War Thunder. It's the words escape me. You know, there's times when you're flying over your own ground targets at low altitude, or even over the airfield, and you've got an enemy on your ass, and the Teamplay can't even hit him. And then we have a yak here flying at 2,000 meters casually along with kilometers between him and the ground targets that are actually shooting at him. And then just before I'm about to pull the trigger, the damn Teamplay lands and a 1 in a million shot into him and completely tears him apart. That has got to be one of the most frustrating moments I've ever experienced in War Thunder so far. Sometime later, back over the front line at altitude, I spot 2 aircraft, and I'm fairly sure that's a friendly with an enemy on his 6, so I call that out. Indeed, it's actually a yak trying to get on the tail of a Zero, and I think he spotted me right at this moment, and he decided to dive down. What I did not know is that this guy probably was on comms with a friend of his, and I'm going to be damaged and shot at by another Russian fighter in just a few seconds. And I was fairly... there you see the traces coming in from another fighter there on my 6. And I got a little bit lucky here, because 2-on-1 is always a bad thing, especially when people you are up against know what they are doing, and these guys surely aren't too silly enough to try and turn fight with a Zero, and I got shot there. Fortunately I didn't take any critical damage, and I'm trying to get a shot at these Russian fighters, but unfortunately I find it fairly difficult to do a proper deflection shot in a Zero, because the view over the nose is pretty bad. I mean, you can lose the enemy below the gun sight fairly easily, because you just have a bar below it. It's nowhere near as good as in, say, the P-38, which has a great view over the gun sight. And yeah, I start to turn with one of them. The other one, of course, is climbing up, trying to get a deflection shot at me, and this is just... they are just taking turns at me, and I'm basically on the defensive here, but I get lucky and I actually crit one of them and take off his wing. So that's 1 kill for me there. And his friend, he's coming straight for me. I'm not sure if he actually lost me there, but I try to get a shot at him. I hit him, but nothing too critical. And now of course he's running, because any sane person is not going to try and turn fight a Zero when he's flying a Yak 7. So after my low-level dogfight with the two enemy fighters, I initially decided I would go to the airfield to rearm and repair, but with half of my cannon ammo left and my aircraft largely intact, I decided to stick around, and I bump into an enemy fighter right there at cloud level, and he's being rather smart by going full speed into the clouds rather than try and turn fight with me. And I lose sight of him right there, and surely enough that's a friendly. It looked like a Zero, so I popped down below cloud cover, hoping that the enemy would come down as well and I could maybe get on his 6 right away. But there's no... I have no view of him. Oh, there's something. Yeah. Hopped down and ended up on my low 5, and unfortunately he plants a shot into my aircraft, into my right wing, damaging it. So my aircraft is now definitely handicapped. I cannot turn as well as I would be able to, but still with a hole in the wing the Zero can still turn pretty well, and I'm now in the defensive. I just have to try and avoid his fire. I'm trying to get into the clouds, but the Yak is pretty fast and it climbs also pretty well, so I cannot allow myself to take my eyes off him, and I'm trying to go for a snapshot here. Fortunately he's doing a little too much maneuvering on his part, and I can take shots here and there, and I can cut his turns, which allows me to take shots. And now I'm on his 6, but with my aircraft already damaged, it's not quite as easy as it would normally be to take a shot at him, and I decide not to follow him down to ground level. I lost sight of him there. Oh, there he is again. Must have zoom climbed back up from his dive, and now I'm actually above him in a fairly good position. He does have substantial speed, but I can actually take a snapshot here, and I put some rounds into him. Nothing too critical though, but I guess he didn't think I was going to put up as much of a fight as I am here, and he's again diving down, and I'm not following him down. I want to get back to the airfield. I still have 13 cannon rounds left, but I'd rather rearm and repair than being shot down by him or a friend of his. Back near the friendly airfield, I watch as a friendly aircraft is being shot at by an enemy fighter. Unfortunately, being in a Zero and also having sustained quite some damage already, I cannot catch up to this guy quickly enough to be much of a help. I have to watch on as this Yak is taking turns and shooting at the friendly. There are a couple of other friendlies around, however. One of them is going to fly past the Yak in just a few seconds, and there he is. And now fortunately the Yak pulls up, thereby decreasing its airspeed. I get in some long-range shot with my machine guns, and for some reasons unknown the Yak loses its wing right there, and I'm being credited the kill, so that is actually some compensation for the Yak that I did not even get a chance to shoot at earlier on. So after rearming and repairing my aircraft, I went back into the same area, got up to altitude, and was on the lookout for some enemies, and there you can see one of them just zooming past me, and he's doing the same stuff that the other Yak was doing before. He goes up into the clouds, but he's not quite in them yet, and I'm fairly close on his 6, so I can actually put some effective fire into him. I don't land a crit on him just yet, but I got some hits into his engine, and he's spinning now, so that's not a good position to be in. Trying to get around and get a shot at him, but I'm a little bit impatient here and don't quite get a shot at him. I do crit him here, and I'll take a longer shot at him now, and I've actually managed to crit his elevator, and he's not going to pull out of that dive. And there's another kill for me right there. Again, several minutes later, I spot a dogfight via the traces there to my 3 o'clock and decide to head there. Currently there's only 3 enemy aircraft remaining on the enemy team, and it seems like one of our aircraft got cornered there by the enemy team, and I push my nose down again to pick up as much speed as I can to help out that guy on my team. And I'm not, at the time, I wasn't sure how many enemy aircraft were around. I was suspecting there to be a pair of Yaks, pilots of whom are in a squadron and also teamed up in War Thunder, so I assume they are coordinated. And there's the 3rd player on the enemy team flying an I-153 Polycarp of Chaika biplane, and I do a high yaw to get behind him, and I take a snapshot, and because the Chaika is a very fragile aircraft, my 20mm make short work of it. But this is just biplane. There's still 2 Yaks in the game and piloted by fairly competent pilots, and there again on my 3 o'clock low, just at the entrance of the valley, I can see something being set on fire. Unfortunately, that's one of my teammates, and he got shot at by one of the Yaks, which I have just spotted down there, and I'm diving on him. Unfortunately, I'm fairly low on cannons by now, because I wasted like half my ammunition loadout on that Yak. And I get on the tail of the Yak, get some good hits into him, both with machine guns and cannons, but I don't land any critical hits on him. There's another friendly who almost collided with me, and I'm now down to machine guns only. I get some good bursts into him, but the machine guns don't do much. I land sort of a critical on him, but he just keeps on flying. Somebody's shooting over my shoulder. I'm not quite sure if that's a friendly or an enemy. I suspect the other Yak is around there. He is. He just overshot. He probably tried to save his friend. Tried to go for a shot, but completely overshot with his superior speed. I tried to get some hits on him at long range with the machine guns, but nothing all too critical. And unfortunately at this point I just have to give up the chase, because I'm never going to catch up with these guys, and I'm out of cannon rounds, and the machine guns in War Thunder are just too much of a game of luck than anything really. So by this time both teams were down to 2 players each. The Japanese team consisted of course of myself in my A6M2 Zero, as well as a guy called Kisko, I hope I pronounced that name correctly, in his KI-43, and on the enemy team of course we had a pair of Yak drivers who obviously were in the same squadron and also teamed up in War Thunder, and most likely also in voice comms. So in order to make our chances of winning a little bit better, I actually talked to my remaining team member via chat and could convince him to go back to base with me to rearm and refuel, so we could take off and stay in information in order to make this a fair, or at least a little more fair 2-on-2 fight, facing off against those 2 Yaks. A minute or two later, Kisko and me were now back into the air, and at this point in time I assumed that the Yaks were already back up in the air as well, because for one, they are much faster aircraft, and when we disengaged from them they were already back on their way towards the base, whereas we, two of us, only turned back to base after a little bit of reconsideration and reconciliation. And in just a couple of seconds I'm going to hear some AAA burst behind me, and this is where the Yaks make an appearance. Anytime now. Yeah, there it is, and I look back and I see some tracers flying my way. One of the Yaks is firing at extreme range. The most important thing here is not to get hit, because that could ruin your entire flight. Just try to avoid the fire, stay alive, and you're good to go. And Kisko is already on this guy's spot, but there's the other Yak as well that I'm going to take him on, and he's obviously trying to help his friend. He's settling up behind the KR-43, but I seem to have caused him some issue with his aircraft, and he goes in vertically at very high speed. So it's just 1 on 2 now for the Russian team, and Kisko in his KR-43 is right on this guy's spot. But as we are in Japanese fighter aircraft, we are not fastest, and the Yak is slowly but surely gaining on us. And especially I, in my A6M2, am the slowest of the three. Kisko's KI-43-2 I think is actually a lot slightly faster than the M2 Zero on the deck. And Kisko is being rather generous here with his ammo, and I just let him know that I'm with him and that he should be a bit more conservative with his ammo usage. And Kisko is going to do a mistake here shortly, which is actually quite favorable for us, because it actually prompts the Yak to turn around and engage him. Namely, he's probably either accidentally or he's forgotten about them. He's actually had his flaps down, and you could just see them rip off his aircraft in a shower of debris, and the Yak is coming around probably thinking that it's just a KI-43 and that he's now an easy picking. But I'm here as well. I'm trying to get on this guy's tail, but I am at a very long range. I think he saw me there, and I'm trying to get some hits on him, but that gun side view is not to my likings. That makes for some very difficult deflection shots, and you can't really afford to waste a lot of shots in the Zero, because you only have like 60 shells per cannon. And I get a little bit lucky here in a second. Yeah, that's more like it. One round directly into his wing, and the fuel tank is on fire. And he's not going to get back. So that's a win for the Japanese team right here. With a little bit of luck and some good flying on both mine and Kisko's part here. So this is it for this commented War Thunder video. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you guys in the next one.